In this episode, I'll show you how I fixed up the 2 door handles on the trailer, and despite all that work, I'll tell you why I might not end up keeping these.
Welcome back to this ongoing series on the renovation of my 1949 Spartan Manor camper trailer.
Okay, obviously need to replace this door handle, and it's already missing some screws. I'm missing one there, so I think I just need to take that one off. And maybe I'll be able to access the back of that thing. Seems like this guy had a monopoly on trailer accessories back in the day. There you go. Then there's the back of the broken handle. The last thing holding it in. There we go. I don't know if that's the original angle it was at. Let's take this down to the workbench and play with it there. So it looks like I just need to get this spring off of those pins to get that broken part of the handle out. Let's see. Pretty easy. All right. So the new handle comes with a new spring and this new pin. So I guess that's what I'm looking at in there. Not a problem. I expect that to just fall out. Oh, it's just crumbling as I hit it. So there's that broken part of the handle. That's the new one. Oh, this is exciting. Just making sure this is clean. Okay, that goes in there very easily. I just need to slip that through. And then put on the new spring. It needs to hit that part there. And then go over the pin. I think that's it. And of course now this looks amazing, and this little frame looks kind of awful. So I'll have to try and clean that up at some point. Here's how it works. You do that, and it just pulls the latch back. There's some kind of seal around here that I don't have anything to replace with at the moment. So I was a little curious about the angle of this on the back here. And sure enough, it doesn't really line up with the hole unless you really squeeze it back. And if I pull this out, I mean, look at that gap. Well, in fact, 2 screws are completely missing. That should be holding that plate down into those posts right there. Be careful if you're taking this all the way apart. There's that teeny little ball bearing that sits under here and gives it some spring. So in my mind, those little brown cylinders that you can see in there are getting in the way of this closing up well. And they also run into that little cam that is activated when you use the door handle. So this is where the door handle connects to, and when you turn it, it pulls the latch in. So that's that cam I was talking about. And before, this part was rubbing against these little cylinders. And now I've rotated up so that it won't hit those. So that little shoulder there engages with that pin. And this should work a lot better now. Now it actually all sits together correctly. The job now is to find screws to hold it all together. These are the 3 screws I need more of. I'm going to go to the local hardware store and see if I can't find some. So 1032 for this one. All right, 832. The closest they have is by 2.5 inches. So just have to cut them down like the other ones. Huh. Okay, that's still 832. It's just a different head. Perfect. Back with the assortment of screws. And these I can put in right away. All right, it's amazing what 2 new screws and actually assembling something correctly will do. You can see there's no angle on this anymore. It's secured there because the cam had been the wrong way around. You had to rotate the handle up to open the door, but now you'll rotate it the normal way. I only had 2.5-inch screws, and I need one that length. I'm going to use wire strippers to do that because it has this part right here to cut bolts down. And there you can see 1032, which is what this is. So I'll just be able to thread it in right about there. Looks right to me. I'm holding it against there because of course it's going to cut right in the middle. And what's really nice about this is that the hole is threaded, so it'll repair the threads as you take it out. All these numbers here are different ways that screws are designated. And so the first number refers to the diameter. So the larger the first number, the larger the diameter of the screw. And then the second number is the thread count per inch. So this one has 40 threads per inch, 24. That helps demystify that at all. Now the holes are lining up. That's great. The lesson in this is don't always assume that things are assembled correctly. And this part goes on and on the inside. Just like that. This did have a little block of wood behind it, holding it up. This door works better than the front door now. As you can see, this door handle area is a mess. The lock doesn't work, the door handle's corroded, this back piece is corroded as well. This patch here has pop rivets attaching it, and then it looks like there's butyl tape sticking out from all around. So let's take this off and clean it all up.
On top of all that, you can see that the back plate has a big chunk missing out of it.
I looked online for a new one, and I can only find one on eBay for around $500. So I'm gonna try and fix this one. I'll just take it apart, and I'm gonna try and put a patch over here, maybe with some Bondo, sand it down all smooth again, and then try and make it look like chrome. So let's see how it goes. Okay, let's just document how this was put together so I don't have to make it up as I go back. Okay, the ball bearings are stuck here now. And I think we just need to clean this up, probably with some mineral spirits. It's a bit bent. Looking a lot better after one round of cleaning. This was a little bit bent, and unfortunately, I just tried to bend it straight and it just cracked right off. So I'm gonna have to try to repair this as well. To do that, I got this Weld SteelStik, which is just some epoxy putty. And I rough up this outside a bit with some 80 grit sandpaper. I'm gonna go clean this in the kitchen with a toothbrush and detergent. I'm just drying it off now. There you can see it's different, and that's why you need to mix it. So we need to cut off as much as we think we need. Let's try that. Let's put that little cap there. It says we have 3 to 5 minutes of work time after we mix it up. Okay, that's looking pretty uniform. I'm gonna start the timer there. Build that up. Then a bunch here. Uh-oh. Okay, bad idea to try and mix it onto the paper. If I put too much out here, we can always sand it down anyway. In fact, I need to hold it like this while it sets up because it seems to sag if I hold it in another position. It's been well over an hour, And this stuff is hard. I can't dent it with my fingernail. And then even this part right here, which I thought might be a questionable join, is really strong. This is dried up really well and it's super hard. Now I'm gonna just try and start filing it so it's flush with that. There's still some contours, like that's a little bit of a divot and that's a little bit of a rise. It's pretty flat. So this gap should be that big to allow that to go through. We have a little ways to go. All right, gonna put a little of this on there. Wow, that primer really exposes all the pitting that's happened on this poor piece of metal. Then you can also see the unevenness of my metal epoxy there.
Here I'm trying to use a thinner epoxy to fill in these holes because I thought that metal epoxy just wouldn't sink into those.
Wow, this is setting up very quickly.
So this epoxy stayed gummy and rubbery and so didn't sand down to a hard finish like I was hoping. So I ended up having to take it all off.
Got some Bondo.
The Bondo appears to have worked quite well and filled in all those little holes and smoothed out some of the divots.
Darn, except for that chip, it's starting to look pretty good.
Here I'm sanding lightly between layers of paint.
Okay, that's a lot better.
It's looking pretty good, but it's not an exact match. I want to try and protect the silver paint, so I'm using this gloss coat as well.
So although that doesn't really match super well, I think I'm just gonna leave it as it is for now. And if I find another spray paint, I mean, that looks pretty good. This looks more like aluminum back here than chrome. Then I'll come back and repaint it. Here's the pin that holds the handle in. And then this spring goes like this. So I need to make sure to get this spring underneath that little cylinder part of the handle. I believe, yeah, that's the next part to go on. But now that I have all of this goo in there, it's not sitting very low. So the trouble I'm having right now is that one, this part runs into the bottom of the handle, and two, all the metal epoxy I put in here holds it up higher than it should. And I'm wondering if I can just zip it off right there, because I don't know what function that would serve right there. I think I could get away with cutting that off. Although it seems weird that they'd have extra metal on it. So I'm worried if I grind away too much of this epoxy, then my repair job right here will fail, because that's all just built up with that metal epoxy. So now let's say that actually sits there, and we can put these little ball bearings back on these springy bits. So yeah, it kind of sits there, floats there like that. You know what? That's the whole lock mechanism. That moves down. Haste makes waste. So actually what was supposed to happen, there's a little groove there in the handle, and that's supposed to slide down into it. Wow. Well, this one might just not lock then. There we go. It's a pretty hard move, but yeah, there you can see that metal piece sliding back and forth in there. And that's what should lock it, but I just cut that off. I mean, I could probably weld it back on. I might have to come back to this later. I'd also been thinking about getting a proper lock. August, hey buddy! Okay, I got an August visit. You gonna get some treats, August? Yeah? You want these? You want these? Aw.
Hey, big dog, we gotta go.
Whoops. Still not the prettiest, but it looks a lot better. This just broke off of here. That's annoying. I'll have to try and glue that back on. So on the back of each door handle, there's a little channel where a seal can go to prevent water from dripping into the inside of the door mechanism. And I found this at the hardware store to fill that in. So just some Caulk cord Weatherseal. That should just fit in there like that. I want the seam to be at the bottom, so it's less likely to have any leaks in it. This is pretty cool stuff. Feels a little bit like plumber's putty or, you know, some tacky clay. That actually fits really nicely in there. Let's see if some super glue will hold this on. I have my doubts. Instructions say to clamp objects together for 2 hours. There's a bunch of old sealant on the door out here, so I'm using some mineral spirits to clean that up before I put the handle back on. Right here, my metal epoxy repair is actually running into the sheet metal and not allowing it to sit flush. Here you can see how tarnished it is. There we go, that door handle's back on, but I'm not entirely satisfied with it. From the paint job to this little patch in the back and how there's the gap there because of that. So even after all that work, I might not end up keeping this door handle arrangement. I might end up getting a coded electronic lock.
Overall, these door handles took about 11 hours to fix up and cost about $220. Thanks for watching and see you next time.